She tripped on the step. At that moment, it seemed to me that the whole of Paris stood still. The executioner supported her, and she said, quietly, almost in a whisper, "Pardon me, monsieur." I stood very close and heard those words. It was neither a cry nor a plea, but a simple apology. It was the way the former Queen of France went to her death. I was there in Revolution Square on October 16th, 1793. I saw everything with my own eyes. My name was Jacques. I was 24 at the time. I was neither a Jacobin nor a royalist. I was a simple man who found himself at the center of a great drama. When I woke up in the morning, the neighbors were already saying that today would be the Queen's execution. Many people had been running to the square since morning. I went there too. I needed to see it for myself. I needed to understand what the end of an era meant. By lunchtime, the whole square was packed with people. People were waiting. Guardsmen stood at every corner. Soldiers walked beside the cart in which they were carrying her, Marie Antoinette. People were shouting, waving their hands, spitting after her. But she didn't react. I saw her face as the cart passed by. It was thin, almost transparent, eyes deep set with shadows underneath. Her hair was cut off. Her hands were tied behind her. She sat upright, keeping her head up. When the cart stopped at the scaffold, the crowd roared. People chanted, "Down with tyranny!" and "Long live the Republic!" But there were some who were silent. I noticed a man in a black hat. He stood with his eyes closed, whispering a prayer. And another woman. She was holding a baby tightly and crying. All these faces merged into one. No one knew whether to be glad or afraid. The executioner helped Marie Antoinette up. She stumbled. I saw her look at the executioner and say to him, "Pardon me, monsieur." I remembered it forever. It was the moment when the Queen became a human being. Not a symbol, not an enemy of the people. A human being. She walked to the block, lay down as she was asked. She screamed nothing. She didn't beg for mercy. She simply remained silent. The executioner checked the ropes, raised his hand. The crowd held its breath. The blade glinted and fell. It all happened in a second. The Queen's head rolled into the basket. Blood gushed onto the boards. The executioner raised her head, showing it to the crowd. The crowd roared. Some began to clap, some to shout. I stood and watched. My heart was pounding. I didn't know what to feel. Joy? Bitterness? Surprise? I looked at this moment and felt empty. As the crowd began to disperse, I stayed behind. I needed to see what would happen next. The soldiers were removing the boards. The executioner was wiping his hands. Someone was covering the body with a cloth. It was quick, like it was just a job, just another day. After the execution, I could not find a place for a long time. It seemed to me that that day was imprinted in my heart. I wanted to understand. What had really happened? What did it look like through the eyes of the one who stood closest to me? A week later, I found out where the executioner lived. His name was Charles-Henri Sanson. He had served as executioner of the royal court and now of the Revolutionary Tribunal. It was said he executed Louis XVI himself. Now the Queen. I had the courage to go to him. He opened the door for me himself. He was tall, with a tired face. He wore a simple vest and a collarless shirt. I introduced myself, said I was in the square. He looked at me carefully. I expected him to send me away, but he said,
"Come on in."
We sat down at the table. Charles-Henri was drinking wine. He looked at me and said,
"You think I'm an animal? You think I'm enjoying this?"
I fell silent. He grinned.
"You know what the hardest part of my job is? Not lifting the axe. It's not sharpening the blade. It's looking into the eyes of those you're leading to their death.
I asked him about the Queen. He was silent for a moment, then he said,
She surprised me. A lot of people scream, beg, curse. She didn't. She only said one word to me when she stumbled. I'm sorry. She didn't look me in the eye. She looked over me like she saw something else. Maybe her children, maybe her God.
He said that the day before her execution, Marie Antoinette was taken to the conciergerie, a prison where the most dangerous were kept. Her hair was cut short, her hands were tied. She ate poorly, slept poorly. But before she died, she stood up and said, I'm ready. It's amazing how a person can change in one day. The Queen became a captive. The captive became the victim, and the victim became a legend. He showed me an axe. It was big, heavy, with a polished blade. I touched it. It was cold. It's just a tool, he said, like a blacksmith's hammer. But when you know what you're hacking with it, it gets heavier. We talked some more. Before I left, I asked, Is it true that after the execution, the Queen's body was thrown into a common grave? Charles-Henri nodded.
Yes, she was buried in the Madeleine Cemetery. No coffin, no headstone, just a hole dug and filled in.
Years have passed. France changed. A new power came. Then the Restoration. And so, in 1815, Louis XVIII ordered the remains of his brother and sister-in-law, Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, to be found. They began to search for them in the Madeleine Cemetery. I have heard it said that they found the remains of a woman buried with her head separated from her body. Only a few bones, remnants of cloth and leg bones were preserved. No skull was found. It had been destroyed. It was believed to be her remains. They were moved to the Basilica of Saint-Denis, the resting place of French kings. I went there one day. I stood in front of the white marble slab with her name on it, and I thought about that day. Her last words, the look I'd seen in her eyes. What was left of her? Not the lavish gowns, not the palaces, no portraits or jewelry. All that's left is memory. The memory of a woman who was a queen, a woman who became a symbol, a woman who went to her death and said to the executioner, I'm sorry.